For instance, there's something which has been called the Tao of the ancestors. What that means, I think, is simply that for each one of us, there is a way to do the things we must do that is the most energy-efficient way to do it. And I'm talking about opening a door, picking up a fork. The best way to do it is to follow the creed that is the Tao of the ancestors, to recognize that you are a genetic expression, a partial genetic expression of a gene pool which has received genetic expression at each generation in your family for thousands and thousands of generations, and that you are just the latest recension of this gene pool. Then you release the ego and you act with this awareness. These are psychedelically induced states of being that I think make it easier to live in the world. And how many of them are there? Who knows? For instance, under the influence of psilocybin in the Amazon, I noticed what I am completely convinced is an atrophied human ability. It's a very simple ability, but we have lost it. It's the ability to know how to walk from point A to point B, not following the shortest distance, but following automatically the path of least resistance, so that you don't go down into valleys and then climb hills. You automatically stay on ridges, even though you take more circuitous paths to your goal. And I could feel this sense working. It was just like a part of the dashboard that had previously been covered up was uncovered. Here was a human sense, which we don't particularly need because we've erected linear cities where the path of least resistance usually is a straight line. But you can imagine people in rugged country. This is a sense which would confer great survival adaptability and be tremendously important. So I think that what we need to do is tease these human abilities out of the psychedelic experience, that really the psychedelic experience is like an intimation of immortality. And at varying distances in time from the point you occupy, it shows you ever more vague intimations of the future, but they are there nevertheless. Language is probably somehow related to the endogenous hallucinogens in the human brain. The evolution of culture is probably related to these things. It's been suggested that DMT in the brain is mediating what we experience as attention, that when you look and look hard, something is happening in the brain having to do with DMT, that it mediates awareness in a very moment-to-moment way. The future evolution of mankind is going to be based on these states, but the last point I want to make is one about how evolution occurs. It isn't that a mutation happens and it confers greater adaptability upon an individual, and therefore that individual and his offspring numerically gain over competitor individuals of the same species. This is not how it works. The way it works is you have constant mutating of a gene pool from the influx of cosmic radiation and other factors. There is always a low level of mutagens, of mutants in a population. But they are of no consequence as long as the selective parameters remain the same. But when the selective parameters change suddenly, these individuals who were previously masked in the general population, the selective advantage that they have now comes immediately to the fore, and they act very quickly and critically to send the evolution of a given species off in a different direction. This is why the fossil record progresses in fits and starts, because sudden shifts of environment cause the apparent emergence of new types. It isn't that they cause it, it's that the new types were always there, but not with any advantage. It's that the new situation has conferred a sudden advantage on them, and they are moving then into positions of dominance in the population or the society, if we're talking about human beings. I think that the psychedelic experience is like that at the present level. It has conferred, there is a population of different people in the general population. And as conditions change, these people will be seen to have adaptive advantages without being metaphysical about it. An obvious adaptive advantage is what I call the deconditioning effect. That we live in a jungle of propaganda. Buy this, believe this, wear this. If you have a symbiotic relationship with a deconditioning agent, you're much more likely to thread your way through that with your soul and your bank account intact. So this is one way of thinking of it. That what the psychedelics really do, I think, is release us from cultural machinery and put you right up against the human essence and say you no longer have to pretend that you're Scotch-Irish or Witoto or Jewish. You can actually explore the human modality independent of the inertia of these exterior labels. And so it places responsibility, it raises questions of validity, existential honesty with oneself, and I think it promotes the moral life, which I don't think happens if you buy deeply into myths of the tribe, if you're a devoted practitioner of Marxism, fascism, capitalism. I don't think these things will lead you to the moral life because they are not, they don't arise out of experience. Experience is everything. These are drugs of experience. It's very important to take the moment seriously, reincarnation and all these things aside. What if this were your unique opportunity to unravel it all and not be caught in dissolution? Because I think that there is a potential for immortality, but it isn't assured. It is something which comes to the courageous. And somehow in the historical experience, we've gotten the idea through Orthodox religions that salvation comes to the subservient. And this is totally wrong. It is more like the Greek ideal of the hero, that if you are heroic enough, once you're dead, you'll be a god. And I think this is what these things summon us all to. And the thing to look at are the things which don't fit any paradigm, the anomalies, the paranormal things, the self-transforming elf machines, the UFOs, all of...
See, the first thing that comes to mind when we talk about the creative power of sound or language, for me, is the experience that I had with the holophonic sound, where you had a sense, that qualities in other senses are created through sound.
Right.
And I wonder what would happen if you record this holophonically, and then people listen to that.
Now that's an idea. That's a very interesting idea.
I heard a lot of things, where it transmits qualities of emotions, people in unusual states and so on. But there I came as close as I've ever been to understanding that there's something special about the creative power of sound.
Of sound, yes, I think so.
I always saw it as a metaphor, that what science has discovered about vibrations, and it's sort of when they talk about sound, they really mean vibrations, so not sound literally.
Well, they talk too much about sound, I think, and not enough about language. Most people, when they think about the creative power of sound, they think about the mantric approach, syllables, sustained tones. And what I'm more interested in is the self-transforming power of grammar, that there is really something going on there.
Yeah, but it's just the next stage.
Right. Well, these things, it's all gradations. This is all of a piece somehow, and how the visual cortex and the voice relate to each other is not well understood. One thing I want to mention, I just thought of it, but because there may be experimentalists in the room. This was appeared 3 months ago in Scientific American, and to me it just seems astonishing. It is that anyone who can sustain 100 hertz hum, that's 100 cycle per second hum, can look at an electric fan, and if you can sustain this 100 cycle hum, you can slow the fan down, make it appear to stop, make it go backwards. You can do this to a phonograph record, you can do it to a spinning wheel. This is not stoned. This is simply using the voice. Well, it sounds like pure magic. How can such a thing happen? The explanation of the Scientific American was that actually the resonant voice cavity is imparting vibration to the eyeballs, and that it's actually this subtle vibration is breaking up the photon input, and you're actually getting a stroboscopic effect. Well, the guy who wrote the article said that he had no training in music and was tone deaf. So to test the theory that it was vibration of the eyes, he built a little machine where he strapped his chin onto a box, and by manipulating a dial could make the box vibrate and impart the vibration to his chin. So then, and he also used, you can make TV pictures appear to roll, or you can fix rolling without getting out of your chair by doing it. And he attached his chin to the box and ran it up to 100 hertz, and lo and behold, this effect was happening. Well, imagine an Amazonian shaman being able to approach a waterfall or something like that and make the water stop or flow uphill. Things like this, with no technology except the human voice. How many things are there like that, you know? How many human abilities are there that we are just unaware of or have masked? And what could you do with it? I mean, I suggest stopping a waterfall, because I've just given it 5 seconds thought. But what if you'd given a millennium of thought to social institutions and little tricks and party games that could be used if you could stop time with your voice? And we bring orthodox physics to bear and say, well, acoustical vibration, stroboscopic effect, etc., blah, blah. But what is experientially happening is here's a man who uses sound to control the speed of passing time. If that's not a magical ability, what is? And yet it's all nuts and bolts. And he hasn't even taken his first hit of ayahuasca. This is just on the natch, right? So what happens when you add in, you know, the exotic psychodynamics of these compounds? So that's how the boar ate the cabbage.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Terence.
Thank you for your tolerance.